My desk is gone because in the U-Haul because I'm moving, but that doesn't mean that we can't give you guys some technical analysis for the SPY, Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia. And we're going to get into the VIX and things like that. We're just going to keep things brief because let's be real here. I'm doing this from my bed, so I'm going to be a little bit more brief in these videos because we are moving at this point, and we're just going to look at some hourly charts real quick. Okay, so if I pull up the SPY on an hourly, you can see, and I'm sure at this point you're getting sick of everyone pointing out these divergences, but now we do have that hourly divergence. And the reason that you're not seeing the collapse right now, right? We're not seeing any kind of downtrend, any kind of pullback is because look at this red circle I got down here. We actually are not in that negative territory, okay? We need this MACD to roll over into negative territory in order for us to see a negative trend begin, in order for us to see some kind of pullback begin. Now, the interesting thing with the SPY here is this is our weekly expected move, this purple line up here at 446.25, and you'll notice we actually gapped above it, which is very important. We gapped above it to use it then as support in order to hold at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see if this is able to hold up as some support in the future, as in tomorrow with more data coming out. And if we switch over to the Qs, you can see that they're starting to halt at that weekly expected move. That's why these weekly expected moves are very good to pay attention to. And we're just going to talk about the Qs. They have a similar thing, okay? They have a similar thing being that divergence that you have here on an hourly, on a 30-minute, you have a ton of them, but it's not in negative territory. We need this MACD to get into negative territory to start that pullback. And that's overall why, even though we've been talking about a pullback for some time, we need this trigger of, hey, now we're down in negative territory. That means the trend is now going down. So what I'm getting at here is, even though we're seeing divergences like we are on Apple right here on an hourly, and we're getting to that zone, we talked about this possibly curling up, right? If it just continues to curl up and stays positive, you know, in the positive territory on the MACD, that's what's going to happen. We're going to get more upside, okay? That's because the trend is currently positive. We're getting closer and closer to that center line here, but we need to get across that center line to start a negative trend. But this is a very, very good resistance area for Apple. You can see we've sold off pretty dramatically out of this area before, and so any kind of bad news around this area will lead into some selling. But I just wanted to state that even though I'm talking about selling, even though I'm talking about a pullback, as long as this hourly remains in positive territory, we're going to see this continue upward. So you're waiting for this to curl down, and you can be scaling into this overall, you know, over time, and then saying, okay, and once this goes into negative territory, that's when my negative trend, my downtrend is going to begin. With Apple, I believe that, you know, these divergences do matter, and once we do get into that negative territory, we're going to see a pretty dramatic pullback, and this could go all the way back down to our purple zone around 176. But overall, what we are looking for if we do get some kind of pullback is, if we pull back into negative territory, do we remain in negative territory? Okay, this is going to be important, because if we curl back up into positive territory, this could be a short-lived pullback, and we actually could see Apple making another move higher. Now, Tesla's one of your only ones that didn't have a divergence, but it was one of the ones that did not break higher. Its structure looks really nice. So if you did play this, like, congratulations, because this is some very good structure here, this head and shoulders. It doesn't mean that we can't go test that level. A lot of the time when you break a head and shoulders, you do like to test that level. So maybe this level about 222 before you actually go higher. So I'm interested to see what happens here. I believe that any pullback in Tesla will most likely remain as an uptrend at this point, because you have a low here, you have a higher low, and then I do believe you're going to make another higher low if there is another pullback in Tesla. Amazon's one that I've been paying attention to, and I even created a weekly range here, and that's why I was targeting this 147.10. And you'll notice right when we get to 147.10, we start to halt on the buying, okay? We pull back from that area. That's how these weekly ranges can act as resistances, as supports. So we want to pay attention to that. The SPY right now is using it as support, but you can see Amazon is actually hitting its head on it right now, and it's struggling to get through that level. I am actually going to start my my Patreon up, where I do give these weekly ranges for all the stocks that we actually cover on this channel. So if you would like to join that community, you can actually join for right now for $7 all the way up through Christmas. I might leave it at $7, but right now I want to do that all the way till Christmas. The link is down in the description of this video. The important thing with Amazon here is we're getting very close to the center line, okay? A lot of these stocks are getting very close to their center lines, and that could mean that a negative trend is coming. So we do have data coming out tomorrow. We do have seasonality, which produces some weakness into like the pretty much the end of November, but then we see some sort of bounce. So it really does kind of add up that we are going to actually see that pullback. But I just want you to start to understand that on this channel, I'm not overall looking for the pullback, right? I'm not in a trade for a pullback until this trend gets into negative territory on the MACD. Nvidia is another one that's giving us those tight divergences in here, and this thing's going up and up. And like I said, this is good news that you're testing this level. It really tells me that if we pull back and go find some buyers, at one of these points here, then we could see that start to continue to the upside. So it's a good sign that we're actually getting some higher highs, because that can go create higher lows. Okay, so we want to pay attention to that at this point. Really, what I'd be paying attention to, I'm not going to pull up a 2-hour. But even on the hourly, if you do see that trend start to go negative on the MACD, look for that trend to then go positive with some kind of, higher low setting up in the near future. For yields, I'm just going to talk about TLT. So pretty much think whatever the opposite side of what I'm saying is going to happen with the yields. And we're seeing those back off, but you're getting a very clear-cut divergence here on TLT, which could just mean that there's some kind of, thing down the pipeline that could shake up this market a little bit, cause these bond traders to sell off, which will cause the 10-year yield to rise, which could give us that pullback. Okay, so it's a lot of coulds at this point, but overall it's the same thing. You are waiting for this to cross down, give you that confirmation of that triple divergence here, and then go into negative territory and start that trend at this point. The VIX is kind of the opposite side to that coin, okay? We need that to start an uptrend, right? So what we're paying attention to is we've been sitting close to this this center line, right? Trying to get into positive territory. And I want you to notice here, there was that little sell-off, but we're not able to remain in positive territory. We're sitting right on that center line. We just went down into negative territory. We need the VIX, unlike the actual stocks that we're paying attention to, we need these to go into negative territory for us to see that pullback. The VIX, we actually need to see get into positive territory and start to hold in positive territory for us to get a meaningful pullback and start a downtrend. Sorry, it's a little dark. I'm going to try to fix it up a little bit for tomorrow, because we just don't have a lot of stuff here. We're moving. But the main takeaway from this is, we see these divergences and things like that. The main thing you want to get to to understand, I guess, is we need those to actually perform into negative territory for us to start a downward trend. Okay, it's not just you have divergence, so boom, we can take it and we know things are going to pull back. No, it's we have divergence, so there's potential for it to pull back, and I need to wait until it starts that negative trend before I actually take a trade. That's something very important to pay attention to. But I still wish you guys all the luck in the world tomorrow. You do have some data coming out in the morning that can be very important, so pay attention to that. But all the luck in the world tomorrow. Have a great night. Peace.